Welcome to another edition of Fast Break Bets. It is Wednesday, April the 19th, and we're talking more NBA playoffs. 3 playoff games today. And Erik, a lot to digest. But what's so fun about the current playoffs is it just rapid fire. The next day, another slate of games coming up. We had some major results last night as far as seeing things sort of shape, seeing things sort of shift. And now we pick up tonight on Wednesday night with 3 more games, and we open it up right away with Lakers-Memphis. We want to remind you some of the partners and sponsors of this show. First up, DRF Sportsbook. We'll be taking a look at the betting lines at DRF Sportsbook as we put together our wagers. And then Thrive Fantasy, we'll talk about how you can build a Thrive Fantasy lineup in just a little bit. But Erik, buddy, 3 games tonight, and it looks like you've got a lot of plays. Not only does your team play, but you've also got a pretty strong opinion on at least the first 2 games tonight.
Yep, got a couple plays going off. Real interesting game here in this Memphis Lakers game. I think the really thing that stood out for me is both these teams are pretty good defensive teams. And in game 1, I thought their defenses on both sides wasn't that good. Obviously, the one player prop I wanted to get into was Rory. I'm not even going to pronounce his last name. Wanted to play his point total under. It's a little juice the under, though, so I passed. There is one player prop I like, and that's Dylan Brooks over 14.5 points. In the 2 games last year that Ja was out against the Warriors, he attempted 41 shots in those 2 games. He looks to run the offense. For whatever reason, he thinks it's his team. So my first play in that is Brooks over 14.5 points.
And we're both sort of playing this game tonight like it's going to be Ja. We're sort of what do you think? Do you think he's playing?
I don't think he's playing.
Because based on the spacing, right? Like based on the spacing of the games too, if he doesn't play this game, you have till Saturday.
Yep. And I don't know, like his hand was wrapped and then it got hurt. And then on top of that, Wojo tweeted out, they're not optimistic that he plays. I don't think he's going to play at all. I don't think he's going to go. But at the flip side, they've won before without.
They've been very good without him over the last 2 years in a lot of games without him. And this is the type of game where if he doesn't play, then all of a sudden we're only human, right? Everybody just will assume, oh, well, the Lakers are going to mop the floor with them. Their best players out. But you don't give the same level of energy when you look across and Ja Morant's not there. We're only human, right? It's in our brains. We all do the same thing. It's very rare that you give that same level. And so I'm one of my plays for tonight, and it's a Thrive play that I'll have also because of that is Bane over the 10.5 rebounds and assists. I just think even if Ja is in the game tonight, which is a game time decision, and for everyone out there, Erik and I are recording a little bit early, so you are all going to be watching this show at 5 Eastern. Erik and I are recording a little bit earlier today. So by the time we record, they may have made a decision. But even if they do, let's say Ja comes in, plays 2 minutes, and then it re-aggravates it. Or we can see early on in the game that he can't really handle the ball as much, or he's not going to be as effective. Ball's got to be in Bane's hands, right, Erik? A little bit more. So over.
And I mean, like you have to think of it. You have to think of it like this: who's their backup when Jones isn't playing? I mean, who's going to be running the show? Bane, more than likely. Maybe Kennard for 4 minutes. So that's I like that play a lot. I played Memphis for the first half. I expect a little bit of a bounce back from the game. They went on a 30-11 run to end the game. Memphis, the best first half team all year, even better.
Best home team.
The bet against the spread, for the first half. So I expect Memphis to come out. I expect them to be winning at halftime. Full game, I don't know. There's a lot of – it's always interesting to me, and don't get me wrong, I think Reeves has been stupendous, completely under the radar, but he really doesn't get that mainstream media coverage. When you get a younger guy and now he starts to get that mainstream coverage, what's that first game back like? We saw it last year with Bane. Bane started to get some mainstream coverage in the media. That first game back with the playoffs, he struggled. Then he went back to the norm. What are we going to see from Reeves tonight? I didn't get invested in any of his player total props, though.
See, and I'm glad you brought that up. One thing I like, and then just sort of comparing, so I went back to Austin Reeves, and I would go under on a guy who was hot. Like, I completely agree with you. If you were looking to play Rui, I would play under. But the thing about Reeves, what's unique about him is it's not like he's just a shooter that shoots really well, or it's not like he's just a guy that gets to the line really well. Like, he can do it all, like a combination of everything. He's just a smart basketball player. What I like about him too, Erik, is kind of what you were hitting on. Last year, a guy like Bane, who plays for Memphis, he starts to get a little bit more national attention. The slight difference is that whether it's a positive or a negative, guys like Reeves and Caruso and Kuzma, because they're Lakers, they get a little bit more than that because the Lakers are such like a popular covered brand overall. So it's funny, even last year, there were articles about him. They called him Hillbilly Kobe. And one thing I found, there's a funny thing, a little clip somebody put together. Austin Reeves went to Oklahoma. And Erik, you know college basketball as well as almost anyone that I know. Desmond Bane went to TCU. And there's a great clip out there of Austin Reeves destroying Desmond Bane in college, just going at him all game, over and over and over. And Reeves hits a couple big shots at the end of the game. Like, Oklahoma comes all the way back. It's a really fun clip. I wonder if he just kind of has a good matchup here too, because you're spot on. If he has a bad game and struggles a little bit, it won't shock me. But how about this? Final 18 games of the year for Austin Reeves, double figures in all 18.
Yeah.
Not even one game where he was really down. He shot 57% from the field, 43% from three. And what was key, he only played 32 minutes. I say only because now in the playoffs, maybe he plays 35 or 40. So maybe those numbers can creep up a little bit.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to see, like, do we see Dylan Brooks go on him? You know what I mean? Like, what is going to be Memphis's counter? Because
if you adjust to him,
you know,
then all of a sudden you're leaving LeBron.
Yeah,
a little bit more, right? Like, and you can't leave Anthony Davis just one. Like, you got to be able to help on him a little bit because now with no other bigs, if you don't really want Jackson to have to defend AD all game one-on-one and get him in foul trouble. So that's what's kind of fun about Reeves. It's like, if you put more attention on him, then all of a sudden LeBron, AD, and even a guy like D'Angelo, like, he'll have nice lanes to the bucket. So very intriguing tonight. I like what you did though with Memphis in the first half. We were doing that, and yesterday, which was a very successful day for me, the only game that I missed was when the Suns didn't cover in the first half. They go on a crazy stretch to end the first half, and then they score the first, I think, 8 points of the second half. So we barely missed that one too. We had the right idea.
I have a gripe with my Mobley bet because they gave him, there was this play where
he had another rebound and an assist.
And it was taken away after the game.
Two of them.
So I missed by a half on that, is what it is. But that was a little shady. I think I came out a little in the green for me after all said was done yesterday.
One of the other things before we move on from the Lakers-Memphis game, because this game does worry me a little bit as a fan, because it's one of those times where it's like everybody's starting to talk about the Lakers now. Everybody's starting to look around and go, oh, wow, like, the Lakers are deeper now. They have all these different guys that can come in. LeBron and Anthony Davis don't have to carry you every single night. Anthony Davis has 7 blocks in the game. Everyone's talking about them. This would be a game that they just come out flat. But what I like is that all of their last month and a half of the year, those games all mattered for them, Erik. They were
Yeah.
playing in games because if they didn't, I mean, they were in the 13th spot, needing to play
Yep.
all the way to get up to the 7th spot. So all of these games were important for them. Like Austin Reeves played some impactful minutes in big moments in close games down the stretch. This team has sort of gotten used to having to play big minutes. And maybe tonight's not a Rui night. Maybe it's a Troy Brown Jr. night who comes in and he's played well for them. Or maybe it's a Beasley night who can hit 3 or 4 threes real quickly. You know, they're pretty well balanced now.
Yeah, they got some pieces, and it wouldn't surprise me if Rory only plays like 12 minutes because that game just kind of came out of the nowhere. I'm not going to lie. Like, no one is really.
He's not a good. If you had been watching Rui, what happened? They brought him over first. They traded for Rui before they made the trade for the other 3. So Rui was the first guy the Lakers brought in, and they put him in the starting lineup right away after, I think, his second game. And then once they traded for D'Angelo, Vanderbilt, and Beasley, all 3 of those guys went in the starting lineup, and Rui moved to the bench. And Rui started getting his playing time cut. And then one game he got completely benched. And since that game, it like a switch flipped in him. He's been playing so hard defensively that they've been just giving him more minutes because he's been playing so hard, getting rebounds. And it wouldn't shock me if Rui scored 20 points on all mid-range. He's amazing mid-range because he has like a really good size advantage for a lot of the wings that try to defend him. He's a little bigger than people realize. He's like 6'9", right? So a lot of guys that are trying to defend him, he can shoot right over them. He hits that 15, 18-footer great. If you told me he was going to hit all those threes, I would have said not likely. But you get a guy wide open in a rhythm like that, you know, these are NBA players. Those are practice shots for him. A lot of them.
Yeah.
They were leaving him wide open. So do I think he's going to do that again tonight? No. But if they leave whoever that is out there open, that player might be able to. If that's Beasley out there, he could do that. So Memphis kind of has to pick and choose their poison tonight. Really impactful game for them, trying to even the series going back to Lakers. You get a few more days for Ja. This is a series. You go down 0-2, you're in some serious trouble going on the road.
I will say this. If you think the Lakers are going to win tonight, I would bet also the Lakers to sweep the series.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, Erik, anything else you want to mention in this one before we move along to game 2?
Nope.
Game 2 tonight, Miami, Milwaukee. Your Milwaukee Bucks. And what do we know about Giannis and his status as of the time we are recording?
So true game time decision. But the thing that's encouraging to me with him is after the injury happened, he came back on the court and played for a little bit and then left. X-rays, MRI, the whole 9 yards just came up negative. This is just going to be a pain tolerance thing for him to see what is going on. But honestly, I'll say it, like, I really don't think people realize, or even just rank the NBA players. I mean, Bucks, I can make an argument they have 4 guys, including Giannis, in the top 35 with how good Lopez has been this year defensively, the total package with Holiday on both ends, and Middleton finally being healthy. So even if Giannis doesn't go, I think they're going to cover the game. It wouldn't surprise me at the end of the first quarter if they're up at 10. Bucks are the top scoring team in the first quarter in the NBA, most points scored. Heat on the road, second worst scoring team in the first quarter. Heat are due for some shooting aggression. I mean,
I sent you that tweet, right?
I mean, like, gee, they are so due for some shooting aggression. This is the worst shooting team in the league, and they shot over 50% from 3.
So check this out. They outshot the Bucks by 36 percentage points on threes in game 1. So 60% versus 24%. That's the third biggest difference, the third biggest margin in any game in playoff history. Teams are 39-0 when they win the 3-point battle by 25% or more. And based on Second Spectrum, the Heat shot 18% better than their expected effective field goal percentage in game 1, based on factors like shot location and shooter identity. that is the biggest overperformance for any team in any playoff over the last 5 postseasons.
I mean, they just shot lights out. And another thing, I looked back at it. Butler usually gets the most of his points on the free throw line. Butler made 15 shots. And don't get me wrong, Butler's Butler. Butler's great in the playoffs. He made 15 shots. Last time he made 15 shots in a game was game 6 against Boston. And then he didn't do it at all during the regular season this year. And he did it 3 times last year, twice in the playoffs last year, once against Atlanta in a blowout game, and once early in the season. So, I mean, even Butler wasn't missing, which is insanely weird. I think they're going to miss Hero a lot more than people realize. He third behind Bam and Jimmy, the third most usage rate. Some instances in the second unit, they're running the offense with him. He's playing the point guard. Who's going to get those minutes? Duncan Robinson, Victor Oladipo. They really don't have anyone that can get those minutes and do what Tyler Hero can do. Obviously, we spoke about the trend yesterday.
So I'm on you with this one too.
Yep. 56% ATS for the first half in teams that lost the game and game 1 and did game 2 as the favorite. I think the Bucks are just going to come out. It wouldn't surprise me if they absolutely steamroll them, because this team is one of the best shooting teams in the league, and they could not hit the broad side of the bar.
And they played one of the worst shooting teams who was awesome. It was literally best case scenario for Miami, worst case scenario for Milwaukee, on top of Giannis getting hurt. Like you said, it's different when your guy goes down in the middle of a game too, because you're a little, and then he comes back in. You're a little bit worried. You're a little bit tentative. This team has played without Giannis. They have ball handlers too. If they knew for a few days they were going to be without Giannis, they would just have a little bit better game plan coming in now. They're going to attack them a little bit differently if he's not there. And if he is there, of course, they're going to get that boost too. I expect them to come back and play well. And you're going to go all of first quarter, half, and then on the game.
Yep, because active coaches right now, guess who has the best ATS record at a bounce back spot in the playoffs?
Gotta be Bud.
Bud is really good. He's really good off a loss and really good in the playoffs off a loss. One of the best active coach there is. And like I said, I just think there's so many regression stuff coming the Bucks way. And let's face it, this line is priced as if he's not playing. If he goes out there and play, this is going to balloon back up to 9. This opened up at 6. Then all the news came out that Giannis X-rays were negative, MRI was negative, ballooned all the way up to 9.5. Then Wojo tweeted out something saying he doesn't think he's going to play. This dropped all the way back down to 6. So it wouldn't surprise me. Giannis is, and maybe this is my Embiid shade, he's an anti-Embiid. He wants to play. He wants to be out there. If he can go, he's going to go. Even if he doesn't go, I think the Bucks are going to steamroll this game just because of the shooting regression that the Heat have and the positive shooting regression.
Even when he's not playing, he's catching strays. Embiid, he's listening to this right now going, I'm not even playing today, Erik, and you're still giving me some strays.
It was funny. Like last night during my live stream, Embiid started talking and people in the chat just started throwing Embiid shade. And the guy that was on last night was like, what's up with all the Embiid shade? And that just opened up a big 15-minute window on the stream. So
that's funny. That's funny. We got to make Erik's Erik's favorite players team, which would be Embiid, Poole, obviously. That would be the guard and the big for your all team. We'd have to get Baker Mayfield on there as well. We could do some cross sports.
That's cross sports,
Yeah, they used to have the competitions on what were they like they would do like the strongman competitions, or like they would do them on like ABC, where they would bring out all the best athletes from the different sports and they'd have them do races and then high jumps. And Erik, we finish up with the Bucks and the Heat.
One more.
Oh yeah, you got Holiday, right?
Yep, I did Holiday over 2.5 threes. Back to the well. 2 of 9 last game. Should have went over last game. Like I said, due for some positive shooting regressions. A lot of open looks. The way the Heat play defense, they give up a lot of open 3-point looks. Plus, they gave up the second most 3-pointers per game to opposing point guards. So I'm going to take Holiday over 2.5 threes. Found this, I believe, at plus 115.
Erik, what's funny is you and I never discuss our plays before the game. You'll sort of shoot me a list with a couple of yours. And honestly, I don't even really look at them until I just like insert them right before we start and I can pull them up because I like to be able to talk about them with you in the game before kind of all fresh. And neither one of us can get a real feel for this last game. I don't have any plays in the Denver, Minnesota game either tonight. And I always like to try to find something. I don't ever feel forced to bet a game, but I usually can find a prop, a player prop, some halftime wager, something. Like I want to go to Anthony Edwards, but I don't know how healthy he is. As we've mentioned, everything that was going on with the Gobert stuff over there, I feel weird about. Maybe I play Minnesota when they go back home in their next game, just kind of watching how this game plays out. But I couldn't figure anything out for this final game tonight. Just how do you get a feel for the game?
Minnesota scored 80 points. Everything tells me to play Minnesota. With the stuff going on in the locker room with Gobert, Edwards obviously not 100%. I can't trust them, and that was probably the ceiling game for Denver. That was the best Denver has looked. So I don't want to bet a team laying a big number after they look so good. Yeah. Total wise, maybe I'd lean to the over, because Malone did make an interesting comment after the game saying his offense is better when they didn't allow the Timberwolves to get set. And then Conley post-game said they need to push the pace more, not allowing Denver to set. So if you really wanted to play something in this game, maybe I'd look to the over. But I just can't really get a feel for this game. Like you said, obviously I'm going to look to play Minnesota once they get home, game 3, if they do end up losing this game. But right now, this is just a pass for me.
Yeah, and that's one thing you have to do as a gambler. Just don't force it. I mean, last night I liked 5 spots. The night before I had 4 or 5 spots. Erik has a few more than today. A couple days ago, you told me the same sort of thing. I couldn't really find much more. I had 2. That's fine. I mean, we're looking at so many things and playing so many different things, different sports, races, all sorts of stuff. Don't feel forced. There's going to be a bunch of more opportunities tomorrow, or you can just head right on over, Erik, and take a look at what's going on with our friends over at Thrive Fantasy. And at Thrive Fantasy, you can get involved in contests where you can play against a lot of other people. You can play in head-to-head matchups, or you can just wager on props, which I've been doing quite a bit recently. And I like that because out in California, I'm not able to legally wager on anything. So if I wanted to play any props, I couldn't do so. You can make wagers putting parlays together with player props on Thrive Fantasy, thrivefantasy.com. It's a daily fantasy DFS site. They have contests for all the major sports. They have contests for esports as well. So right now, this time period of the year, you get basketball, you get baseball, you get hockey. They have golf. They have UFC on the weekends, which I'm sure Erik's going to dive into because he knows UFC stuff very, very well. Erik, today's format has been similar for the featured NBA contest. It's a $20 format, $2,000 in cash prizes. They pay out $400 to the winner. You have to pick 10 out of the 20 props that they give you there. Were you able to find a couple props that you like today?
Prop number 1, I'm going with the Strus under 13.5 points. Hasn't gone over this total versus the Bucks this season. Hasn't gone over in 3 of 10, 1 of 5, 1 of 3. He had that one big game where he had 31 points. I'm taking Strus under the 13.5 points.
Strus under 13.5 for Erik. So we showed you the contest if you want to dive into. What's really cool, and it's so simple, if you want to make a parlay and you just want to play some of the props, like for example, we can talk about some of the ones that Erik was looking at with Strus, where we have 13.5 points. We go under, it pops up right here. And then if you wanted to connect that with one of the plays that I was looking at, like Desmond Bane, or even in Austin Reeves, you could go Austin. Let's see, which one was I looking at? Austin Reeves, 15.5 total points. I sort of like the combo better, the points, rebounds, assists. So I put those two together, Erik. I click submit. I show how much I want to wager on this. I could do a little $5 parlay here. I've got a $5 2-team parlay that could get me back $16. I'm going to send that in, Erik. I'm going to put together one of mine and one of yours together. I think you said you have one more.
Well, obviously Dylan Brooks' points is there. You could add that in there.
Yep.
One that I found, and it's a little under the radar, you could take Gobert under 11.5 rebounds. I know people are going to think, oh, it's Rudy Gobert, but you just kind of look at it. 2 out of the last 3 games he's gone up against Joker, he hasn't gone over this total. The last 2 games against Joker, he has not gone over this total. He did not go over this total in the playoff game that was just played over the weekend. He's only averaging 9.3 rebounds against him. Plus, it's playoff Rudy. He's really limited with how much he can play in the game just because he's such a liability when you draw him away from the basket.
When Cat is Rudy's a million times a better defender than Cat. Like, no one's gonna say that. But as far as the matchup here, Jokic isn't like fast or anything like that. Like, he's sly, he's smart, and Jokic is gonna probably get his on most, even on a guy like Rudy. You're probably better off just putting Cat on Jokic, because what Cat can do, Cat can at least make Jokic have to defend him, right? Yep. He can at least make Jokic have to work a little bit on the other end of the court, come out a little to the 3-point line. If you guard Gobert, you don't have to do anything on the other side of the court.
He's alive. It's like 4 and 5. You're going to be allowed to double and everything. It's just one of those things. And we're kind of like Quinn Snyder kind of figured it out yesterday with declining Clint Capella's minutes. You have these guys that are just,
you were spot on. That was a perfect call. You had Capella under and Okonwo over. Isn't it nice? It doesn't always happen like that for us, but when you have an angle, something you think is going to happen, and exactly like that. Like yesterday, I had a couple or like Cam Johnson, he goes over in like, not even halftime. It's always nice when you're spot on with your analysis, your angle, and you're like, damn, I think that it's almost easy. Like you've coached basketball a little bit or something, Erik, right?
Yeah, that was easy. Move on. So, I don't know. Like, I think Gobert, like, I think it's a good little angle. I think most people are going to play the over there, so I'll go to the under and the rebounds.
Awesome. Erik, another one in the books. Anything else for you today as far as plays or thrive or anything else?
No. Hopefully you get another good night of basketball. We've had some good games. Really interested to see like what goes on. Then let me ask this to you, because this was brought up in my chat last night on my stream. Do you think the NBA is going to get rid of the charge call because of the injuries that have happened to the marquee players in the first half?
That's definitely been a talking point. I don't know if they completely get rid of it, because they were sort of showing some of the old school when there was no charge and how some of the defensive guys kind of took more liberties. I don't know. Like, do you think there's a better option right now than what is out there? Like, well,
I've been thinking about it. I don't know if there's a better option. We just saw it in the past, like the thing with Kawhi. There is no real rule with you landing on a shooter's foot, a defender's foot.
Yep.
After Kawhi did that against the Warriors, then there was that rule that was instituted. When you have arguably two guys that are in the top 10 of jersey sales go down on charge plays, the NBA will look at it. I just don't know what they can do.
What's the solution, right?
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's something they're going to look at, and maybe they can try to like alter, like you're saying, and adjust. But in my head, I'm not smart enough yet to have come up with the solution. Maybe one day I will. I'll keep it percolating around. And every day that there's an NBA playoff game, Erik and I are going to be here with you. Erik and I are also very excited because it looks like in the next coming weeks and months we'll be even producing more content together. So fingers crossed on that. We'll probably have, as basketball playoffs kind of start to wind down, we'll probably start talking a little bit more overall, all sports. We can do a little baseball. Erik talks some UFC. We can also start previewing NFL divisions. We can start talking about futures, Erik. We can do some of those previews like we did last year leading into it. So as one sport will continue on and one starts to slow down, we're going to keep rolling with you right here. It may not be fast break bets. It might be a different title for a show, but we're going to be really happy to be helping you out, trying to make you all some money every day that we can. So, Erik, good luck to you in your plays. Talk to you tomorrow. We'll be back here, more NBA. Folks, don't forget, head to DRF Sportsbook for all of your wagering needs over in Iowa. And if you are a player, horse racing fan, DRF is the command center for everything you need. You can go to DRF Bets there to make your wagers. And fantasy fans, Thrive Fantasy. I showed you these options. You can play parlays in states like California or Texas. You can play in fun contests. $20 can make you $400 right back. Every day, we'll try to make you some money. We'll lead you in the right direction. Erik and myself, Gino Bucol.